recording.
Yay. I know. I was also like checking like how shiny is my forehead and are my bra straps showing, right? Like this is the things that I'm like over analyzing before we start.
I don't even think I was like, oh shit, I'm late because I ran over with my client and I was like, ponytail. All right, I'm ready. Let's go. For all I know, my bra's hanging out. Like, who knows?
That is one of those things that I think is ingrained in me. My mom, I don't know what it was growing up, but like your bra straps were not supposed to show. That was like one of the biggest, dressing fashion no-nos growing up was your bra straps were not allowed to show. So now today that like everybody shows their bra strap or people just wear their bra as their shirt.
Right.
I'm still like, hold on. My mom would have a fit about this and I would be in so much trouble.
Yeah, we were the same way. Mom was always like, tuck it in, tuck it. Oh my God. I just went and visited my mom and my sister. We went to a Pitbull and T-Pain concert, by the way, which was a freaking blast. Yeah, so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
My millennial heart is very happy. Well, my sister was wearing a white crop top and she's had her nude bra underneath, but the strap was like kind of sticking out. And my mom was like, move your strap in, move it in. And she's like, I can still see it. And my sister's like, what are you talking about? And it was literally like this much. Like it like wasn't anything. But yeah, still a thing.
Well, and I love that it was a crop top too. She wasn't talking about like, hey, your belly is showing.
No,
right?
it was like, hey, your bra strap. Hide that. Show as much skin as you want. No bra straps.
Yes, exactly. Right. That is the thinking for sure. Yes. All right. So how's your week going?
Good. It's busy. Yeah, it's been a busy week, but I can't believe it's already Friday. Like, I feel like on Mondays, I'm always like, oh my God, it's only Monday. And then Friday shows up. I'm like, oh my God, how did we get here? Like, what happened? Yeah. But yeah.
Monday is my favorite day. Friday is my least favorite day of the week. And I don't normally look forward to Fridays, but this week on Tuesday, I was kind of like you, like, is it Friday yet?
Wait, why is Monday your favorite day of the week?
Wait, we haven't talked about this? Oh my gosh. Yes. I love Mondays. It's been my thing for like the last 10 years because I just feel like it's a clean slate. Like I took a dry erase board and like wiped everything off and like everything is still possible on Monday. By Friday, my whole to-do list that I added on Monday is still there. And I'm like, I'm such a failure. Oh, no. I didn't get any of the things done that I wanted to do this week, right? Like nothing went the way it was supposed to go.
Yeah. That's a cool way to look at it. I like that. Like Monday, the fresh start and you get to new chance to do all those things. Yeah. I like that. I think Friday is my favorite because it's our date night. And I love our date night. Like I look forward to it every single week, even though it's the same every week. Every now and then we try to do something different, but I'd say 95% of the time we do the same thing.
What is your date night? What do you do?
We go to a whiskey bar that is right across from the apartment complex that we first lived in when we moved out here. So we used to be able to just walk across the street to it, which was great. But we go, we order pizza at our favorite pizza place in Winter Park, which is called Valdiano's. We put in a pizza order, then we go across the street to the whiskey bar called Hangry Bison, and we have a couple drinks. Then we go pick up our pizza, and then we drive home, and we have pizza at home. And it's like, it's so great. We finally found our little local spot because in Alpine, we had that. We had the people at the Century who knew our order. They know you by name. And we really miss that. And so now we have like our place where we walk in and everyone says hi to us, and they know our order. And like we bring the dogs to the bar.
We were just talking about Cheers.
Yeah. Oh, really? yeah, that's what it feels like. Like we bring the dogs in and the people that work there love the dogs. Yeah, it's really nice. So that's our Friday night. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Today is Friday. Yay.
Awesome. Yes. We are starting a week of honeymoon, I guess. So just as a reminder, Heather lives in Florida. I live in West Texas, and we met in far West Texas. So our lives are very different. We're on different time schedules, and we have very different lifestyles. But we didn't really take a honeymoon. So I just got married. We didn't really take a honeymoon. I came back to work. So we're doing Will's roping on Saturday and Sunday, and then he's surprising me with something that I don't know on Sunday night, Monday night. Because I'm out of school on Monday and Tuesday, so he's got a little surprise.
Oh, how
and
fun.
then
I can't wait to hear
we
about
have concert tickets on Thursday and on Saturday of the following weekend. So we've just decided, like, this whole week, basically, we're just calling it honeymoon week.
Cool. Who are you going to go see in concert?
Well, very different people. Well, actually, no. I'm going to see Shabuzi.
Shabuzi?
Have you heard the bar song, right?
Yes. That's awesome.
I'm going to see Shabuzi. I'm so excited. He's playing at this festival in Fort Worth. And so it's him and a bunch of other people that are more country. I
Yeah.
don't know how Shabuzi ended up on this
It's gonna be
list, but
great.
like,
I like it.
I'm so excited, and I'm going to see Coetzel.
I
Will
know who
tried to
that
buy us
is.
concert tickets for something else, and he accidentally bought these tickets like 6 months ago. So we
Stop.
have like front row seats because he bought them so far in advance.
That's awesome.
But he thought he was buying concert tickets for something else, so it was just a coincidence that we like this
Oh,
person.
that's great. At least you like them. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
Is that like a
yeah. I
Texas
mean,
country
Texas
singer?
country, Texas
Okay.
country. Yeah.
I didn't really realize this until I lived in Texas and I offended people in Texas because like my country music is more not Texas country music, and I didn't realize that they were two
Uh
different things. I know I love Texas country now that I know what it is and I know a little bit more about the artist. Like
huh.
I'm a big fan. But it's not the Texas or like not the country I grew up with. And so yeah,
No.
I remember what was it called? Viva? Isn't that Viva Big Bend, right?
Yeah.
It's the big music
Viva Big Band.
festival. I remember they
Yeah.
were bringing people in, and I was like, "Well, this would be freaking cool." And everyone starts naming all these people, and I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" Like, I haven't heard of a
Okay.
single one of these artists ever in my life,
Mm-mm.
but they're huge.
I
They're
had
big
never heard of any
names.
of them either.
Yeah,
No.
and they're well known. Like, apparently, Texas country artists. And I was like, "All right, well, I am missing out on a whole genre of country that I didn't even know existed."
I was rewatching my videos from Viva the other
Oh, how
day. For I was looking for
fun!
something in my phone, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like those people, I had never heard of them before. I didn't know their music, and I had a
Oh,
blast. I
Viva's
had so much fun.
great. We should put that as a
Yeah,
social media post. So our Viva
yeah,
memories. Oh, I love
yeah.
Viva. If y'all are ever in Far West
Oh,
Texas, go to Viva Big Bend. So much fun.
yes, it
So
is
much
for sure.
fun.
My best friend does not listen to country at all of any
Oh
kind. She
wow.
hates country.
Mm.
This is my best friend from elementary school, like kindergarten. We've been best friends that long. And so she came to the wedding and we had almost all country on the reception playlist, right? And I was like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's okay. I'll do it for one night just for you.
Okay, so you're married, which,
I am married.
congratulations. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
What was your favorite part about, not the whole wedding, because obviously I'm sure it's, there's so many different things you could choose from, but like the overall experience of going back to Far West Texas and that area
Ugh.
and just being in there again, like what filled your soul the most about that?
Well, number one was since it was more intimate wedding, smaller, and kind of almost a destination wedding because it's so far
Yeah.
from everything and for everyone. No one lived there, like um, the closeness of the group and just the love. Like Will's friends are like, okay, you're part of the tribe. We have your back no
Mm.
matter what happens. And Will's parents were so sweet. And my mom and Will's parents shared a suite and they had food and snacks and stuff for the guests the whole weekend,
Oh,
right? They
how
were just like hosting
cool.
this little like a room, VIP room,
Oh, I
basically.
love
And
that.
then um, the sunset was so beautiful. And then on Sunday after the wedding, half the group went and rode donkeys with us across the border to Mexico
Oh,
and
did you
did the
do
Gringo
Boquillas?
honeymoon, which is from a song, right? A song was written
Yeah.
about it, and it talks about riding a donkey down into this town in
Oh,
Mexico.
how fun. How was Boquillas? Was it
Yeah.
like up and thriving and like doing well?
Um, Well, we were there on a Sunday and it was really hot while we were there. Like, I think it was like
Oh my
104 while we were there that day. So it was pretty miserable. So there weren't a lot of
God.
visitors and you
Okay.
could tell that they, like need some more business.
Yeah.
So send all the traffic to Boquias.
Yeah. It's such a cool
So
place to
many people were
go.
scared that it wasn't safe and like that we were in danger and no, you don't go to
Oh
Mexico.
my
And it's
gosh.
the furthest thing from that, like
Yeah.
it is so safe.
It is. I had a blast going to Boquillas. Like I thought that was so much fun. The donkeys are a great time. Yeah, love it down there. Well, that's so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, you bought a house in the meantime since we've
Yeah.
recorded the last episode. So you have big things happening in
Yes,
life
we're
too.
homeowners.
Homeowner.
So we officially close a little bit later this month. We're just a couple weeks away, so we're slowly packing and yeah, really excited. Like putting down some roots here in Orlando. Technically Winter Park, but yeah, whatever. It's fine. Same thing.
How do you feel about being a Floridian? I mean, you've lived all over the country. So how do you feel about being a Floridian?
Well, it's my second time living in Florida, so I I don't mind it. I wish we were closer to the ocean. Like when I lived here before, I was in Fort Lauderdale area, And I loved that. I loved having that easy access to the beach. And beach life is definitely more my style. But I really do love Orlando. There's a lot more here than I ever thought there was. For me, it was always like there's parks and the city downtown life was like meh. But now that I'm really kind of more ingrained and I have a lot of people in my circle who have lived here for a long time or even are from here. And so we've been well connected with like cool things to go do and the best places to eat. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It is a good compromise from the major cities I've lived in before and balancing
Mhm.
out feeling a little bit smaller. Orlando isn't so city, like it doesn't feel like I'm living in a major city, even though we are. It's much more spread out. And yeah, I like it. I'm
How
enjoying it.
far are you to the beach? Like, how long does it take you if you want to
Oh,
have a beach day?
2 hours.
Okay, that's not terrible.
It's
That's not
not
terrible. I mean, that's a day. That's an
terrible,
outing.
but it's a
Yeah.
lot. I'm so
I mean, when
spoiled
you live
about
in
it.
Alpine, nothing is, I mean,
Yeah.
everything is more than 2 hours, right?
Yes.
So that's not bad. You can do
No,
that.
yeah, it's not too bad. We wake up, sometimes on a Sunday and have coffee and then jump in the Jeep and then head out to the ocean, stay there for a couple hours
Yeah.
and come back. So it's not too bad. The parks being really close are great. I'm a huge parks person. Like the first thing we did when I came out here was buy season passes to Disney. And I think this year we're going to do Universal. So I love it. I love having access to the parks. And it's great for my family too. Like my mom loves the parks. My nieces have come out to visit. We've been able to go to the parks. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, are you energized and ready for today's topic? You got cheers.
I'm
Yes.
drinking my energy right now. Late in the day. This is very late for me to have caffeine of any kind, but we can talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you remember back in episode 3, we crafted the 3 C's. And I love the way that Heather put that together, the 3 C's of supplements. And we gave you some recommendations for the top 3 supplements that we thought that everyone should be using. And if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and check it out because it was so informative and so useful. I actually learned stuff from our own podcast. So go listen and check that one out. But we're doing a little bit of a deeper dive into specifically one of the C's today as part of what we're talking about. But I can't tell you how often I get asked, Shanna, what pre workout should I take? Do you get this question? You're in the gym setting more than I am. And so I'm imagining you get this probably even more.
Yeah, my question is less which one do I take and more should I take it? Or people ask me,
Mm.
"Hey, do you use pre-workout?" And I do. And so when I answer yes, they're like, "Should I use pre-workout?" And I'm like,
Well, I'm glad your people are phrasing it that way. That's so much better than the way that mine, because we were talking like you and I, because we understand the nuances of it. We want to know more information from these people before we answer their question. And they just want a quick fix and a quick answer.
yeah.
And I'm just not one of those people who's like, yes, everybody should use X brand of pre workout, right? That's not my thing.
Yeah, I don't like to blanket it either. I was like, yes, I use it, and in that response with should I? I'm like, it really depends. It depends on so many factors of whether or not you specifically should or should not use pre-workout of any kind.
Yeah. So you and I went back and we pulled our people because I work mostly with college students. And again, you're more in the gym setting. What did you find from your people? What are they using? Are they using it?
It's it's almost a 50-50 split, not just in terms of who uses it, but also the frequency of which it's being used. Which I thought was kind of fascinating. There's a lot of people who um use it because I also coach the morning classes. So I coach a 5 a.m. and a 6 a.m. class. So I have quite a few people that use it because they're like, I'm tired. Right. So for them, it's
Yeah.
it's their wake up plus what they need for their workout. And then there's other people who don't use it for a lot of different factors. Some people don't like stimulants of any kind. Some people it's because of health reasons. So I did find that there wasn't a very clear, like hard yes, and here's why, and or hard no, and here's why. It was pretty blended. And the frequency was pretty blended too. That wasn't every single day, which I'm in support of. I don't think it should be every single day. And the reasons behind it varied, which I also thought was kind of fascinating. Why are they taking
Yeah.
it? Some people, it really is like, oh my God, it's 5 a.m. Like I wouldn't be here without it. kind of mentality.
Well, I loved it. It sounds like your members are really kind of more educated maybe than the general public, because that ties into exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about if you should take it, why you should take it, when you should take it, and how you should take it. So, but I do want to like preface this conversation with, if the first thing that you're asking is about supplements, you need to make sure that you've nailed down the basics first, right? Like consistent exercise, consistent nutrition habits, consistent sleep. Those things need to be the priority first, and supplements should be exactly that, supplemented on top of that. So don't start with supplements, right? Start
Absolutely.
with the basics first.
Yeah. And that is something that well, one of the things I love about CrossFit and what we do in our coaching is like if the CrossFit has its foundational, like, or its pyramid, right, of hierarchy, and at the base is nutrition. And that is
Mm.
so important. You know, I have people who are like, hey, what should I be doing in the morning if they're doing caffeine or whatever? And my suggestion is like, hey, when you wake up, make sure you're getting carbs and protein. Drink some water, get some electrolytes. Like that's step one. Like don't worry about
Yes.
putting stimulants on top of stimulants. But yeah, your nutrition is so important, not just for everyday life, but for this topic specifically. You know, when we say the word pre-workout, a lot of people just assume that, oh, that's a supplement. So, you know, there's a pre-workout meal, there's a post-workout
Mm-hmm.
meal. Like there's
Yep.
things that your body is getting from your nutrition that needs to be in place before, just like you said, we add stuff. Like supplementing is to supplement, right? To add to what already exists.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. And again, like kind of following up on what your experience was, I was surprised how many college students don't use a pre-workout.
Hmm.
But I've also found that my college student, like, because the majority of my students said no, they don't use one. But I also found that my students don't use a protein either, which again, as most of my students are athletes, collegiate athletes, and I'm like, a protein should just be a staple in your life,
Yeah.
right? Like there's no way with cafeteria food and dining hall food on a college campus that you're getting the protein. And if they have weights, they're doing weights and sport specific, you know, practices. And I'm like, how are you balancing all of that and getting enough nutrition when you only go to the calf two times a day? Because most of them won't go for breakfast, right? How are you possibly getting enough nutrition to actually enhance your performance
Right.
and support what you're trying to ask your body to do? So, you know, like a lot of the questions around pre workout, I think, stem from, is it bad for you? Does it even work? Will it make your skin crawl? Does it give you the tingles? Like, how does it make you feel? And then how much should you take? So today we're going to break everything down, everything you need to know about pre-workout supplements. We're going to talk a little bit about the timing and the meals. Like you mentioned, that a pre-workout meal is part of the process too. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you're going to be able to make a really informed decision about whether pre-workout is right for you or not, and what you need to do to help you reach your fitness goals, if this is even something that you should consider. So first of all, do you use a pre-workout, Heather?
I do. So I use pre-workout, but not every day. And I make sure that I take good chunks of time off. So my approach to pre-workout, my mindset is that one, you should never use a pre-workout for high intensity interval training or anything that's going to spike your heart rate, right? And get that heart rate in zone 4, zone 5 for extended periods of time. And we can talk about that later, but that's really important. And since I do CrossFit, I say that a good majority of my workouts put me into that zone, or those zones
Yeah.
relatively frequently. So if I'm going to use a pre-workout and I'm talking about a actual supplement that is designed to help enhance my exercise, so a powdered supplement I put in my water. I usually use it maybe twice a week, maybe. Most of the time it's once. And even then it's only on heavy lifting days. So like this upcoming week, we're going for some 1 rep maxes on Monday and Tuesday. I am going to use a pre-workout on Monday. You know, I am going to use that supplement knowing
Yeah.
that I have adequate rest, right? That the majority of my workout is focused on really high intensity for my central nervous system, not for my heart rate. So that's my supplementation pre-workout. Now, the other piece of that is I won't dive into this just yet. I'll save it, but I have my quote unquote pre-workout that's not a prepackaged supplement powder. And so what I mean by that is I've taken the things that I know help with the brain stimulation, memory, and performance enhancement that doesn't have the stimulant, caffeine, all this other stuff that goes into a typical supplement. So in the morning, what I do is I have my electrolytes. So I drink Element, have that first thing, put it in my water, get my sodium, get my magnesium, get all that stuff in there. I put collagen and creatine, which again, go back to episode 3. We talk about that. Those are the other 2 C's. I put that in my morning coffee every single day. And then I also use an adaptogen in my morning quote unquote meal, which is a bar. I eat a balanced tiger bar. And that balanced tiger bar has cordyceps mushroom in it. So that's also considered a pre-workout or something that can be helpful in pre-workout. And then the other thing.
Okay, can I pause right
Yeah.
there? Because mushrooms are all the rage right now. Like all of a sudden, my phone has heard the word mushroom somewhere,
It
and
was
that's
me.
all that shows up on my phone right now is mushrooms.
It was me every time
Yeah.
we
So,
talk because I'm always like, adaptogens, everyone needs them. Go.
so we may need to follow back up and do another episode just on mushrooms, but carry on.
Yeah. So cordyceps, I mean, quick side note about it, they are a medicinal mushroom that helps boost energy levels. And so it also helps with oxygen uptake. So they are really good for pre-workout. So I use it as a snack. I eat mine, and that's my breakfast. And then I also use Alpha GPC and a new one, which I think this is fascinating. I didn't realize that this was even considered a pre-workout. I was recommended this from my Ayurvedic practitioner probably about 7 or 8 months ago. It's on the circuit of more holistic things, but Rhodiola rosacea, and I was given it for anxiety and calming of the nervous system. Also helps kind of reduce fatigue and more balancing, right? It's a balancing kind of thing where I'm not going to be too high. My stress levels also come down. So I've been taking that for a long time, and that I have just recently learned is considered and used for pre-workout. So that is my quote unquote pre-workout. Those are all the things I do in the morning, and then I work out in the morning. And then if I'm going to also lift heavy, and coffee. Let me just let me not forget.
Yeah. I mean, I think people need to understand the original OG pre-workout is coffee.
Yes.
I remember I worked at a gym in college, and I was like, just your front desk attendant, little college girl sitting there, right? And there was this group of like businessmen that would come in and work out in the middle of the afternoon, and they would come in their like suit and tie, and they would turn on the coffee pot because we had this, it was called Jim's Gym. So, it wasn't like, we're not talking like Crunch Fitness or anything, right? So they would turn on the coffee pot, they'd go in the locker room and change their clothes, come back out, drink their coffee, shoot the bull with each other, and then go work out. And at the time, I just couldn't fathom. First of all, I don't drink coffee. I never have. I can't stand the smell of coffee at all. So I could not fathom drinking coffee right before your workout. First of all, it's disgusting to me, and it's hot. So why would you put something hot in your body before you're about to go sweat? But they were more, old school lifters, not doing HIIT cardio or CrossFit, but that was my first introduction to pre-workout.
Yeah. And
was the coffee pot.
It's still a thing. I mean, there's so many athletes, and there's days where, that technically is my caffeine. Like that's my stimulant. I don't add any other stimulants. 90% of the time, my coffee is my pre-workout. Like this morning I was drinking coffee while I was doing my warm up. Like that was my pre-workout.
Yeah. So I think that's the first thing that people need to assess about themselves is how much caffeine are you already taking in? Because caffeine is the most commonly used ingredient in pre-workout supplements. So I think you need to understand the baseline of how much caffeine you're taking in. Are you drinking coffee? Are you drinking tea? Are you drinking soda? Are you drinking energy drinks? You need to be aware of your caffeine consumption before you even start considering a pre-workout supplement. So go back to something that you said a minute ago, that what is a pre-workout? So we're talking specifically regarding supplements. Most of them are in the powder form. Occasionally now you can find like the ready to drink cans, but mostly we're thinking about the powders that you're mixing in water and drinking before you start to lift. And, like this research thing, just like we talked about in the 3 C's episode, that creatine was the most researched supplement. Pre-workout there isn't specifically pre-workout, there isn't as much research about, but caffeine and the benefits of using a pre-workout supplement are pretty well studied, and they're pretty clear that they can improve mental stimulation, they can delay fatigue, they can give you an energy boost, they can improve cognitive function. So they do provide some really helpful benefits. They can get more blood and oxygen to the muscles. There's a lot of things that they can do. So usually when people come to me about pre-workout, I ask them, what is it that you want
Hmm.
pre-workout to do for you? That's usually where I try to start. And people are like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
make me better,
Right.
like
Because they don't know what it
help me
does.
work out,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. So we need to understand what the pre-workouts do, because that will help you decide which pre-workout you should take. Is what benefit are you looking for? What's the primary benefit that you're looking for? Because there are some that if you take ones that give you more of a muscle pump, you definitely wouldn't want to take that before you got on a Stairmaster. Like I accidentally did that one time. Talk about holy moly, right? Like my quads had this pump and my legs just couldn't even move anymore. And my heart was fine because I couldn't go fast enough to get my heart rate up, right? Like I couldn't even finish the cardio workout. So you definitely need to understand what the options are, what the categories of pre-workouts are before like in determining what you want to use.
Yeah, and with that, it's important to know that there are stimulating pre-workouts and there's non-stimulant. And so
Mm-hmm.
stimulant is usually the caffeine ones, right? You've got caffeine, you've
Mm-hmm.
got higher dosages of caffeine in them, and niacin as well. That B12 complex stuff being put in there. Those are things that are going to be stimulating to the nervous system, and getting the heart rate to go a little bit more. They're going to make you more alert, more awake. So if you are an evening lifter, I would highly encourage a non-stimulant pre-workout. You're still going to get a lot of those benefits of what, again, assuming that your goals lie in the world of, hey, I want to push a little bit more, I want to lift a little bit heavier, I want to go a little bit longer on this cycle today, then you can use a pre-workout that's non-stem, and then you can still go to sleep at night, and you're not, because we
Yeah.
talked about this in that last episode too, of caffeine having a half life, right? That shelf life of caffeine
Yes.
inside your body is going to last for another 6 hours. So
Yep.
whatever, if you're taking caffeine at 6 p.m. in the form of a high stimulation pre-workout, you're going to be jittery and alert and awake and laying in bed at midnight going, why can't I fall asleep? Like, I'm tired,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't fall asleep. Plus, if you add in that you had a cup of coffee that morning and you had an energy drink that afternoon and you took a pre-workout with stimulant the evening, that might be leading to one of the reasons why you aren't sleeping well. So just keep that in mind when you guys are choosing a pre-workout. Stem versus non-stem is helpful depending on when you work out and how much caffeine, like Shanna said, like how much caffeine are you consuming in addition to that pre-workout?
Mm-hmm. So I kind of broke it up into three categories when people ask me, like when I start asking them, why do you want to take it? I'm like, are you looking for energy? Are you looking for like that focus and motivation? Or are you looking for the pump? Like, are you in the weight room and you want to feel your biceps, right? Like you want to be able to take that flexi at the end and see the pop and you want to see the veins, right? So what are you looking to accomplish? And so when you do that, you can kind of divide it up into those, like you talked about, those categories. Like caffeine, your stimulant based supplements are going to give you the energy that you need if you're feeling like you're dragging at that 2 p.m. slump and that's the only time you have to lift, right? Or if you're looking for that focus and that kind of that motivation, some people really like supplements with beta alanine that give
Mm-hmm.
them the tingles, so they feel like, okay, something's happened now. It's kind of that signal. My body knows it's time to work out, and this is what we do right now, right? And then the last one is that nitric oxide category where you are getting the pump. It's opening up the blood vessels. It's giving you a more blood supply directly to the muscle that you're working, so that you do get more blood and oxygen, which is what helps our muscles grow, right? So going back to that first category, that caffeine category, again, kind of our upper limit of where most people should be is about 400 milligrams of caffeine total per day. So that's, again, why it's important to know how much caffeine you're already taking in before you start working out with a caffeinated supplement. Because if you're already drinking 3 or 4 cups of coffee and having something like a tea or a soda at lunch, you're already kind of reaching that limit of how much caffeine you should be having per day. And if you're doing that, taking another caffeinated supplement, not only does it put you over that limit, but it also isn't effective because we
Yeah.
have a kind of an upper level for caffeine where we develop a tolerance to it. And really, it's about 200 milligrams is what you need, 200 to 400 milligrams in a pre-workout to actually get the benefits. But if you're already taking that throughout the day, then 200 to 400 milligrams isn't going to feel like much when you're actually working out. But caffeine has proven benefits. It's, again, like we talked about, coffee is the OG pre-workout. It's got the caffeine in it. If you're not adding sugar and creamer to it, it's really the perfect pre-workout supplement. It doesn't
Yeah.
have any additional ingredients that could be bad for you, or cause any other kind of reactions. But it's going to increase your alertness. So again, don't take it at night. It's going to improve your cognitive function, which can increase your reaction time, which can be said also for hydration. So make sure you're
Mm,
drinking plenty of water, because your reaction time goes down when you're dehydrated as well. And then it can also increase your pain threshold, which is,
yeah.
again, another reason to take a pre-workout supplement if you're trying to push through those last few reps on like maybe a mid rep range, that 10 to 12, where 15 feels like I'm going to burn, some muscle is on fire right now. Then it can improve your pain tolerance so you can push through those last few reps that are really challenging.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, I usually just take it on 1 rep max day, like this weight lift is going to
Yeah.
suck. Let's go. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. Things in my body are not going to want to do it. Yeah. This is exactly one of the biggest reasons why I personally use pre-workout, is because I know, like, it's gonna hurt. Like, my muscles are gonna be tired. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you guys follow a workout program that has you do like reps from failure, or reps in reserve is kind of more common now. Um, those are days that you want to probably have some type of pre-workout to help with that, because those last couple
Mm-hmm.
reps are painful. They are tough, they are challenging, and it is helpful to get just that little extra edge, just that little bit. Or if you have a program where you're following where they have you do partial reps, get those extra partial reps in, get that
Yep.
muscle growth. If that's a goal for you, absolutely, it can be very helpful.
Will was making fun of me the other day because like we were doing like a 3-set exercise, 3 sets of an exercise, and first set I'm like, that was hard. I didn't really like it. Second set I'm like, failure, and then the third set I just busted it out, and he's like, wait, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why were you struggling on the second set but you can do the third set? But it's something mental, but then also the pre-workout, like it
Yeah.
does make a difference to give you that like mental toughness to be able to push through something.
So I guess we didn't check in with you. Do you take pre-workout, and when do you take pre-workout, if you do?
Yeah. So again, I'm not a coffee drinker. So I start my day kind of like you were talking about, with a glass of water with all my little, stuff that I add into it. I'm doing, the minerals and some salt in the mornings as well, and a little ACV, to help with my digestive issues. And then I drink a green tea supplement in the mornings. It has about 100 to 150 milligrams of coffee. But I will tell you that the other day, it doesn't usually affect me. I'm pretty caffeine tolerant. But the other day, I wasn't really paying attention. And I usually drink it on my way to work, which is about a 45-minute drive. And I accidentally put 2 scoops in and didn't really think that much about it. I got to class and my students were like, you are talking 100 miles an hour. We cannot understand you. Please slow
And
down.
you already
And it
talk
took me a
a
second.
decently fast amount, so I can't even imagine. Your students are like, what?
And it took me a minute to realize what I had done. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And on that day, I teach 4 hours straight.
Oh
I teach
my
4 classes back to
gosh.
back. But it lasted all the
I
way
bet.
through. And
Yep.
so I had to apologize to every single class. I was like, I'm so sorry.
You're like, we're learning fast today. Go. That's awesome.
Because I drink my water and then I eat my breakfast and then I drink my caffeine. So kind of
Yeah.
following those rules that we hope that you're doing as well. But it was
Yes.
really funny. So I drink that in the morning, and it's technically a pre-workout supplement, but it doesn't have like any of the other stimulants in it. It doesn't have any other, like it doesn't have the beta alanine in it. It doesn't have the nitric oxide in it. So I'm not getting any of those other effects. And then occasionally I'll use that for my pre-workout again in the afternoons if I just need to pick me up if I've
Yeah.
had a long day or didn't get enough sleep or something. And then occasionally I'll do like a true pre-workout if I really want the pump kind of feeling.
Do you have a go-to
Yeah.
brand, like if for your actual pre-workout supplement?
Right now, what are we using? Right now we're using, Will and I just kind of share something, and I can't even remember what we're using right now. I'll have to think about it. I'm
Okay.
drawing a complete blank. It's like on the tip of my tongue and I cannot spit it out. But I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of caffeine, again, but I'm an energy drink person. I love them.
Ooh,
We've talked
okay.
about this because I just love the carbonation of them more than the energy from them. I just want the bubbles is really what I want. So my go-to if I need one in the afternoons is usually like a Ghost right now.
Okay, yeah, I've seen
Is what
that
I'm
brand. I
doing.
haven't tried that yet.
Yeah.
But and that's something too, like energy drinks are a pre-workout, like And I think people forget that it's like, because I've seen people do this, and my heart stops for them. I'm like, please stop doing that. They will drink an energy drink and do their pre-workout scoop, and I'm like, like my nutritional, I care about you and want you to do well in life side pumps out. I'm like, hi, please stop doing that. Your heart is going to literally explode one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's also an option. I mean, this episode, we are kind of gearing it more towards specific supplements that are packaged and labeled pre-workout. But y'all, if you're drinking an energy drink, that is your pre-workout. Like, you don't also
Yep.
need the scoop of something on top of it. Because there's a lot of the same things in energy drinks now that are in pre-workouts. And it used to be like that it was, what's the brand? I can't even think of it. Like Red Bull, right?
Just straight caffeine.
Exactly. Like, there wasn't anything beneficial about it. It was just like, you're jacked up. But now energy drinks have a lot of those same things that you are going to get from your pre-workout supplement. So you don't need both. Like, for example, I have my little Jocko Go here, and this has almost all of the same stuff that I see in a pre-workout, right? It's got my alpha GPC and caffeine and L-theanine and sodium and magnesium and my vitamin B12 and my vitamin B6 and like choline and like all of the same stuff. So there's no need for me to do that and my morning supplements and my coffee and my pre-workout. Like, that's too much.
Yeah.
But
And you did exactly one of the things we'll talk about in a minute, which is read the label, which is probably the most important advice that we can give. Is read the label and know what you're actually taking.
Yes.
But yeah, so I try to moderate my caffeine, and I'm probably one of those only people that when you go into the doctor's office and they ask you about your caffeine consumption, that can tell you to the milligram how much I've actually had that day.
That's impressive.
Because I don't know. Yeah, but I know kind of everything that I drink. I was into bangs for a while,
Oh my
and
God,
those
yeah.
were one of the ones that also had like the citrulline and the other branch chain amino acids in them. But they were 300 milligrams of caffeine, so that alone kind of almost has you at your daily limit.
Yep.
And I have realized that I am an addict, y'all. Like, I cannot keep energy drinks in my house because if there are 3 in the refrigerator, I'm going to drink all 3.
Oh my, in the same
I
day?
can only buy them one at a time. Oh yeah, because it's in the fridge. I'm like, yeah, I want it.
Wow.
Can only buy one at a time. Or Will hide them in the house for me occasionally.
That's
like, if
funny.
he goes and buys me a couple, he'll hide them
What
from
if
me
they're
because he
not
knows
in
that
the
I have no
fridge?
self-control.
Like, if you put them in the cabinet, will you drink it if it's warm?
Room temperature is fine. I'm an addict. I'm that much of an addict.
That's so gross.
It's for real. You should ask Will about it. Like, he literally hides them from me.
Oh my God. I cannot imagine opening a cold energy drink. No, that's disgusting.
Or a hot one, you mean?
Sorry,
One?
yeah. Cold one, yes, but no. Yeah, I think that's one of the things about Bang that I remember, because they were kind of one of those brands that for a while came onto the market and were like took off, and then all of a sudden, like, the nutrition health world was like, hey, whoa, stop. That's,
Well, and they got in a big lawsuit with Monster too.
yeah, they did. That's right. But yeah, a big part of it was the high levels of caffeine. It's 300 milligrams. Like, that is excessive for one drink. And we're seeing, we see it a lot. And I'm sure you see it a lot, actually, I should say. And a lot of college students that I talk to are people now who are older. Like, I literally just had this conversation yesterday with one of our old coaches. Popped in the gym. He saw me drink coffee. He's like, hey, how much caffeine do you drink a day? And I was like, let me talk about it with you. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm one of those people that I can just have caffeine and go straight to sleep. And I was like, I was that way too in my 20s, and he had the same conversation. He's like, yeah, college, it's just that time of our lives where we're under a lot of stress. We're under a lot of pressure to do a lot of different things, right? You want to do well in sports if you play sports or whatever club or whatever extracurricular thing you're doing. You also have to have time for your friends. You have to have time for your family, and you have to get good grades. And you might be working a job on top of all of that. And you might also care about your health. And so it's like all of those things. No wonder we're seeing this excessive amount of energy drink consumption in this age group. And then adding in caffeine from other sources and all that stuff. But yeah, I remember Bang being one of those ones that came up that everyone was like, hey, stop drinking that. But yeah.
I'm such an addict. I tell my students that if they pop open a can during class, that I literally, it's like Pavlov's dogs in my
Stop.
mouth. My mouth starts watering. I can't even keep talking. I have to pause for a moment and be like, okay, back to talking. Like, it is literally so bad.
God.
It is so bad. But yeah, but my students, I think the caffeine, so most of them again said they don't take a pre-workout, but I don't think that they are accounting for like their Starbucks drinks. And
Yeah.
that's what I see the most of. And I don't think they realize how much caffeine is in them and then also how much sugar and how many
Sugar.
calories are in them. And when you're adding the caffeine and the sugar together, it's actually kind of a detrimental combination. But the other thing you have to watch out for with the energy drinks is they're using sugar alcohols to make these energy
Mm-hmm.
drinks low calorie or no calorie. And for most people, that's not that big of a deal, but we know that some of the fake sugars can lead to cancer, but we also know that mostly they cause gastric issues and
Yes.
digestive issues. So lots of gas, bloating, cramping. So if you're taking something that has a sugar alcohol in it and then feeling like crap when you get to your workout, it's probably those added ingredients, which again is why coffee is kind of the ultimate caffeine source.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the things in my research. It's like, I do hear that from people. It's like, oh, they have stomach issues. And I tend to see this, and this is not, researched evidence. This is anecdotal for sure. Like, I see this a lot with mostly women who have high levels of stress, who also have high levels of anxiety, who then are drinking and consuming high levels of caffeine and energy drinks in particular, who also
Mm.
then have gastrointestinal issues. And all of those things are very much related. And one thing, we'll talk about, like you said, reading labels is so important because so many things, artificial sweeteners being one of them, sucralose and I'm going to say this word, it's something potassium, acylophae potassium. Sure, we'll check that later.
Okay.
um,
Fact check.
those are two of the artificial sweeteners that you see a lot of in energy drinks, and they lead to bloating and disruption of your gut bacteria and gas, and they can lead towards long-term health effects in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really important, you guys, just be mindful of, one, like we kind of already mentioned, like your nutrition needs to be on point. You need to have a good relationship with your nutrition so that your gut biome is in a healthy place. And then you need to be mindful of, okay, my gut biome's in a healthy place, but I'm taking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 28 different energy drinks and going to Starbucks and adding, 5 pumps of simple syrup and milk and all this other stuff that has sugar. And then I go to my doctor because my stomach's upset and I have all these anxiety issues. It's like, there's probably some nutritional things that we could, rule out and pull out of the body, to get a little bit more of a healthy gut. All right,
Mm-hmm.
sidetrack. Sorry. That's just something I see that
No,
so much,
that's
and
it.
mostly in women. Like I see it more often in women than men. Like this, just upset stomach all the time, and then they
You wonder
they're
why.
drinking 5 energy drinks a day and 3 Starbucks. I'm like, oh, okay, that could be part of the
Yep.
reason why. And I'm like, when's the last time you had a vegetable? you know? And they're like,
A glass of
oh,
water.
what?
Yeah.
What's a vegetable?
A glass of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one solution to that could be you can buy straight caffeine powder. And that was actually my very first experience with pre-workout ever. Because again, I don't drink coffee. I don't really like tea that much. And I'm not really much of a soda drinker anymore.
Mm,
So I was like, okay, well, where do I get caffeine from? So you can actually buy just a straight caffeine powder that doesn't have all these added preservatives, ingredients, artificial sweeteners, colors, all the things that we just talked about.
yeah.
However, I will tell you that you should start small and gradually work your way up because my very first experience, I took way too much and I wanted to crawl out of my skin by the middle of the afternoon. And I took it in the morning. And by the middle of the afternoon, I was literally eating a solid loaf of bread, just trying to dilute the
Oh
effect
my
because it was
gosh.
so bad that if I could have crawled out of my body, I would have.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I've had some crazy pre-workout experiences, but that one tipped the cake. But let's move on to the second category. So we've got the energy covered. We know that we have plenty of sources of caffeine that we can go to. So the second category is the beta alanine, and this is the ingredient that gives you the tingles. So when you're looking at pre-workout, and this is what I've remembered finally what I use. We use Bucked Up, and
Ooh, I
you
like
can
that one.
choose
Yeah.
if you want a stimulant or a non-stim, or if you want the beta alanine or don't want it. But when you have ever taken, and they even add this to like sun tanning lotions, like if you've ever been to a tanning bed, They have
Yes.
tanning lotion that has beta
The
alanine in it,
tingle.
so you feel
Hmm.
the effect. Yeah. Okay, I hate the tingles, and I do not want pre-workout with tingles in them. Do you like that feeling?
I I mean, I don't know that anyone likes it. Um, but I think there's a mental what's the right word? Like reward, when I
Hmm.
feel it. Cause then it's like, ooh,
Yep.
here I go. Like I have the
You
things I
know it's
need.
kicked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So mine that I use gives me a little bit of a flush. Like I kind of get like red a little bit and I get a little bit warm and my body starts sweating before I even do anything. And that's how I can tell. But the tingly on my skin, I don't love, but some people do love that. But kind of like what we talked about with caffeine, there's a limit range. So it's about 2 to 5 grams per day is about all of the beta alanine that you want. So again, read your label, know how much beta alanine is in the product so that you can determine how much of that product you should take. But beta alanine also has proven benefits. It increases muscular endurance. So, again, if you're doing something that is a little more like push ups to failure or something like that, muscular endurance. It also enhances the effect of creatine, which we talked about in the 3 C's, is one of the best supplements that we should all be taking. So beta alanine can actually enhance that. It helps get more water and blood flow to the muscles for recovery. And then it increases vasodilation, which is the expansion of your blood vessels so that
Yeah.
they open up so that blood can flow to the working muscles easier. But again, this wouldn't be a great one to do on a cardio to take on a cardio day. This is not that one. This is the one that you want for like a little bit more of a focus, a little bit more of the motivation to go do your workout, right? Like I'm kind of one of those people that I have to like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 myself off the couch to go do things. So this can be that thing. If you're like, okay, I know I should go work out. I know I should go work out, but you dawdle on social media for an hour instead of going to the gym. This could be the thing that might get you over that hump.
Yeah. The other thing that's I think is really important about the tingles and something to be mindful of in your ingredients is niacin. So niacin also causes tingling, redness, and warmth and flushing. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing that's scary about niacin is it's in a lot of stuff, right? Where you have so citrulline malate, beta alanine, niacin, or vitamin B3 are the three big contributors, with beta alanine being the biggest contributor to that tingle sensation, to the thing that's causing the body to feel your stimulants. And I cannot caution people enough about niacin. It's in everything. Vitamin B3 is everywhere. And it's not bad for you. I'm not saying I'm cautioning you because it's bad. It's not bad. It's just that you can definitely have too much of it. You find it in food, it's in meat, it's in fish, it's in grains, it's in vegetables, it's in your multivitamin, it's in a lot of your pre workouts. And if you take vitamin B complex, it's in there. And my scary pre workout story is that I actually had too much niacin in my body, and I was taking a vitamin B complex supplement. I was drinking my pre workouts, and I was drinking energy drinks fairly often. Like this was a few years ago, so I wasn't as knowledgeable then about a lot of this stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I can have an energy drink, and I can have my caffeine, and I can take this vitamin supplement because I need B vitamins. They're good for me. My skin literally turned so red that I remember I was working with a client at the time doing personal training, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like,
Oh
I
no.
feel like I'm having an allergic reaction. I was like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm going to go take some Benadryl. Like, something's wrong. Like, I genuinely thought I was having an allergic reaction. And I was, in a way. My body was like, this, you can't have this. Like, get it out of your system. Um, so just be careful. Like, I mean, I had to like leave, go home from the gym because I was like, something is not okay. I'm gonna have to go to the doctor. I was like, what detergent did I use? I'm thinking about all these different ways that I could have this skin allergic reaction. And it wasn't. I looked like I had a sunburn. Like I looked like I had a freaking sunburn. My body was itchy. And it was from too much niacin. So yeah, ingredient labels are super important. The amount of stuff that you're getting throughout the day, right? So how much caffeine are you getting, but how much of this other stuff are you
Mm-hmm.
getting too? Because
Yep.
even if it's good for you, too much of it is not good for you. Like you've got to find
Mm-hmm.
those balances. Man,
Oh man, that sounds rough. I can't
it
imagine.
was the
Ugh.
weirdest thing. I was like, I'm so itchy and I'm sunburned, but I'm having an allergic reaction and what's going on in my body. Yeah.
So did the doctor diagnose that, or did you figure it
No,
out on
I
your
figured
own?
it out. I was looking at because then I thought about, I was like, okay, what am I eating? And I was like, oh my God, I've been taking these supplements it was the only new thing I'd started was this new B complex. And
Okay.
and I was like, I read the label, and then I read the label of the energy drinks I was drinking, and then I Googled, and I was like, oh, oops, not good.
Well, and I think that brings us back to the whole point of this podcast, right? Like you and I have been in the space, but we still have these hard learned life lessons, and that's the point. And we want to share our journey of what we've been through, and hopefully maybe save somebody else from having that panic moment of
Yeah.
what is wrong with me, and do I need to go to the doctor?
Right.
And learn from us because we've done both the experience and the research to help educate y'all as you listen along with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think between the two of us,
Yeah.
which is cool, like I am 35 and I've been as an educator in the fitness world and now nutrition world for 12 years. And so then plus you are
25.
Yeah.
I'm 46. Yeah, I've been doing it 25 years.
So that's, I mean, what is that? 37 years between the two of us of
Yeah.
experience and research and education.
Thanks for pointing that out, how old I am and making me say my age on the podcast. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
No, I'm just kidding. I really actually have no qualms about my age, and I am never hesitate to tell people how old I am.
Yeah.
And I think that health and fitness has helped me because 99% of the time people will never be able to guess my age, and they're kind of surprised when they learn how old I am. So
yeah. I think, I mean,
I was the people.
The muscle
I couldn't
thing,
buy
right?
alcohol until I was like 30 because I didn't look 21.
I still get carded. Like I get carded all the time, and I think it's just because I don't wear makeup. It's usually what I blame it on.
It's annoying. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's also the best compliment, right?
Yeah, but it's also like, oh, fine. I have to like dig into my wallet and like find my driver's license and
yeah.
Yeah. What do they say about muscle? Like the more skeletal muscle you have, obviously there's a lot of benefits to it, but I think it has something to do with like how old you look. Like if you get a lot more skeletal muscle mass before the age of 30, you're going to age much nicer.
Slower.
You know?
Yeah. It's the fountain of youth for sure. For sure. All right, so let's go back because you hit on some of the ingredients that are in that third category. So talking about the nitric oxide category. And fun fact about this one is that when I was in grad school, my university was actually doing research on nitric oxide and we were using rats. So it was rat research. So I had to give rats nitric oxide and then put them on a treadmill and make them run and then do tests on them. Terrified of rats. It's one of my biggest fears in life besides Alzheimer's. So they put me in this tiny little room with a wall full of rat cages and I had to handle them. Horrible. But I didn't like the research so much that I dropped out of the project. And if I had stayed in it, my name would have been on all the publications that came out about nitric oxide. So if you don't know what this is, maybe you've seen on the shelf like NO Explode as a pre-workout supplement. That's what we're talking about. So you might not see nitric oxide specifically on the ingredient label, but you may see like beetroot, citrulline, arginine, which are essential amino acids. So that's my fun fact about nitric oxide. But this is probably my favorite category, especially when I was in my figure competitor phase of my workout. I forgot you did
that.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
Yes. I got up on stage in the tiny little sparkly bikini and the really tall stripper heels and strutted my stuff and knew nothing about what I was doing at the time because no one I had known had ever done it before. So I didn't know what I was doing. And I lived in a small town where people thought that was weird. But yeah, so in my bodybuilder phase, I just wanted the vascularness, right? I wanted the vascularity. I wanted to see my veins. I wanted to my goal was to have that one big bicep vein and I wanted my muscles to feel huge. I remember getting in the car after an arm day one day and being like this, and I needed to put my arms on the steering wheel and it was like, to get your arms up there, like you had to just swing your body and hope that you got a little momentum to get them up there, like that T-Rex.
You had the crutches thing that's supporting your arms while you're driving.
Yeah. But this is probably my favorite category because these supplements will increase blood flow throughout the whole body. They're going to relax your blood vessels again, allowing for that vasodilation so that all the blood and oxygen goes to the working muscles. And it's that pump. But again, you wouldn't want to do this on a Stairmaster day or a long run day.
Yeah.
Those would not be great ideas. Or even during a CrossFit workout. I did try it one time during a CrossFit workout when I was in Alpine, and I thought I was like, I can't move anymore. I'm just going to lay on the floor. Let me know when we're done.
Trying to do snatches and your arms are yeah. No, I hardly ever, I hardly ever use it for those type of workouts, but I do, what's the right word? Egotistically love the pump Like I do. I
Mhm.
like it. I love that like kind of just jacked look. And it happens naturally too, right? Like you're no matter if you use it or not, like you're going to get the quote unquote pump just by
Mhm.
contracting and releasing your muscles. You're getting blood flow. So that's
Yep.
happening naturally. It's just enhances it a little bit. Um, but yeah, I really do like that feeling. And I think part of that comes from when growing up for me, it was always kind of the opposite. Like, even though my dad would love for me to say that I wanted to have all the muscles in the world, I think he wanted me to have all the muscles in the world because I was an athlete. And in hindsight, I wish I had had that mentality. But instead, I was more focused on like the dancer body and the model body and how skinny can I possibly be. Um, and then when I got found CrossFit, it was the first time I really saw women that were beautiful and strong and ripped. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I could, that's a thing. I didn't know you could look like that. And that's when I started to fall in love with like my muscles. And I was like, all right, how do I make them look bigger? Like, like how do I see that while I'm working out? And it's still my favorite thing. It sounds so creepy. I promise I'm not creepy. But when I'm at the gym or I'm watching people work, I love bodies. Like I love to look at people's bodies and I love watching people work out because seeing their muscles is so fascinating to me. I think it's the coolest thing when I'm watching somebody move and I can see their muscles like rippling through their thigh or like moving around their shoulder complex while they're doing pull-ups. And I'm like, whoa, that's what like,
Yep.
I love that. When you add in this extra element, this supplement that makes it pump up even more, it's like, ooh, like, look how big that is. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I almost wanted to take some of this and do a few like push-ups and dips before I walked down the aisle because I was wearing a sleeveless dress, so
Oh,
that my
yeah.
arms would look extra jacked,
That's
like
funny.
I
Your
was
gown
actually
was
thinking like,
beautiful, by the way. So
oh, thank
pretty.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted those super buff fried arms, and I've never had great delts. It's like the part of my body that just refuses to grow. And so it's always my goal body part, right? Like I just want the caps, the pumpkins, right?
Pumpkins. I don't think I've ever heard
Goals.
anybody say it that way, but that's so cute. And they do look like little
Oh
pumpkins.
yeah.
Like, yeah, you get all the
Yeah.
little
With
lines.
the striations and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the
Little
pumpkins.
pumpkins. That's adorable.
Yeah. One of the workout programs I do, the guy calls them avocados. And I'm like, no, that's
Yeah,
weird. They're
I
pumpkins.
like
Like,
pumpkin. That's a way
let's
better.
get our foods right. Yeah.
I do not want avocados on my shoulders.
Yeah.
How
So
funny.
hopefully that helps people understand a little bit better about which one they should choose, right? Like your caffeine supplements for your energy, your beta alanine for that like motivation and signal to go work out, and your nitric oxide for your strength training and your pump, right? And all of them have really similar benefits, but also all of them have, some precautions that you
Mm.
should watch out for too. So now maybe hopefully we've helped people decide whether they should take one or not and when they should take it. But now let's talk about how to actually take it, because this
Yeah.
is one of the places where I also see people make huge mistakes that make a big difference as well. Do you see that in the gym?
Um, Not so much anymore. You kind of mentioned it earlier, like that our members where I work they're fairly knowledgeable. And I have to give, I would say, all of that credit to our gym owner. She is so longevity focused and research focused. Like our owner is just so smart. And I remember like the first couple weeks I worked at this gym, I was blown away by her education and like her study of everything. And she really does a great job of feeding that information to the members. And so they do feel very empowered and they are making good choices about their supplementation and they are making good choices about all of the products that they use. So I would say nowadays I don't see it so much, but in Globo gyms, every now and then we pop into a Globo gym, and on the vast internet, I see some very unique choices that I don't always love or support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, the thing that I'm seeing on social media right now that is such a trend is dry
Ugh,
scooping.
yeah.
Have you seen that?
I
Everybody like gets
can't,
their little
I cannot
scoop
get
out of
behind
their
it.
container and like taps the screen with
Yes.
it. But we shouldn't be dry scooping.
No,
Number one, you don't want to actually inhale that lung or that powder into your lungs. Your lungs are not made to process that powder. And so that's the first problem. So they can cause some inhalation problems, some breathing problems. And then it's not more effective. You're not digesting it quicker because you put a powder straight in your body. So
exactly.
stop dry scooping. It's some social media trend that started and we need to put it into it, is what I truly believe.
Absolutely. And I think that people, I mean, I guess I don't understand. There's a theory out there, and I mean, someone disprove me, please, if there's evidence to back this up.
Yeah.
There's a theory out there that it somehow works faster and better. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not, again, if there is evidence to back this up, let me know. But I don't think that there is, that it's not true. The scooping or the powder is meant to be digested slowly, right? You should be taking it about 30 minutes before your workout so that your body has time to
Mm-hmm.
absorb it, gets into your bloodstream, gets into your system. Not only is it the way that the supplement's designed, but it's also safer, right? Like it's not meant to, like you said, one for the lungs, it's also not meant to get into our gut that fast and in that big chunk, right?
Mm-mm.
Like this big chunk of stimulants is like, bam, right in your belly. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot.
So, yeah, so that makes me think about, have you ever put something in the blender and if you didn't put it in there right, like one clump just stays dry powder, right? And you
Yeah.
think that everything's mixed up and then you find this one clump in the middle. And that's what's happening in your stomach, right? Exactly what you just
Yeah.
said. So it's actually less effective. And fluid or liquids get into your system faster than a powder is going to. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And
you're
it's
spot
scary too, because not, and I wanted to bring this up. We talked about, I was actually surprised when you said that a lot of your college students don't take pre-workout. That is
on.
pretty
Mm-hmm.
shocking to me, because some of the research out there shows that one of the highest groups of users of pre-workout is men 20 to 29. Um, but there's also evidence out there of kids that are 10 to 19 using pre-workout. And that was
Oh gosh.
mind blowing to me. And some of the research, and we'll link this in the show notes, because I did find some articles that talk about this. One of the things that they brought up when they were doing this research and these studies is the TikTok trend, getting inspiration from TikTok and from influencers who are dry scooping. And your heart rate is going to skyrocket so fast and so quickly. And you, as a 10 to 17, 18, 19-year old, you don't need that to then go play soccer, right? Or go do whatever it is that you're doing. Now, if you're in that 16 to 19 world and you're going to the gym and you're going to, lift weights, and you're on whatever sports team where you need to have some muscle mass, sure, I can see that there are benefits to it. And I'm going to link this too, because I did find some research about some good, healthy ways to introduce pre-workout to teenagers, and healthy ways. But the biggest piece of it is nutrition first, right? What are nutritional
Mm-hmm.
pre-workouts that are available? But it makes me so frustrated when I found this out about that age group. And a big reason why they're doing it is TikTok. And a big reason is that these quote unquote fitness inspo people are doing it. And like, I kind of want to be like, shame on you. Like, shame on
Oh,
you for not recognizing your audience, for making, if you want to make unsafe choices for yourself, go for it. Like, if you want to go dry scoop, that's on you. But if you're going to be a fitness influencer, if you're going to be somebody who's out there advocating for education and helping people live longer, better, healthier lives and do better in the gym, and do, like, please do your research, and don't put stuff out there that is going to end up killing, a 10-year-old because they dry scooped pre-workout and then decided to go play outside in the 95-degree, 80% humidity heat in Florida, where their heart rate's going to spike up because of that, and they're playing soccer and then they have a heart attack. Like, that's the stuff that gets under my skin and like gets me really upset about this industry sometimes. It's like, these things have benefit and we should use supplements if it's right for us, but we need to be smart in our approach to how we are delivering this information, and making sure that we're helping the next generation do things better than we did. And dry scooping is not better. It's worse.
well, and I think that's the other thing that I think you bring up a good point that I talk about in my like first aid and first responder classes is that we're starting to see cardiac arrest in young healthy athletes
Yep.
for this very reason, that they're taking these supplements and then they're collapsing in the middle of their sport, and why we need AEDs, defibrillators, in every public place and in all police cars and things like that. And that there's so many foundations out there now that are supplying AEDs to schools
Yeah.
because of what you're talking about, because a lot of athletes don't recognize that they have a cardiac genetic condition, predisposition, something going on, because they appear healthy and they haven't, gotten old enough to recognize that they have some kind of disorder. And then they are piling these supplements on top of it. And I think part of the reason that maybe my students are saying they don't take pre-workout is they don't recognize energy drinks as
Mm.
pre-workout, like you mentioned before. But yeah, the incidence of cardiac arrest right now in young adults is just crazy to me. And so the other influence that I saw on TikTok that I thought was crazy, and was always asking my students about it. Did you see the Rice Krispie trend? The Rice Krispie pre-workout trend that went around TikTok for a while?
No.
So there was some influencer somewhere decided that Rice Krispie treats, the little packages that you could buy, were like the ideal pre-workout, and they were the epitome of what you should have pre-workout. And I was like, okay, like actually, a Rice Krispie treat is probably a pretty great pre-workout snack. But nobody could tell me why. Nobody could understand, right? Like they were just like, oh, it's something magic about the Rice Krispie. And I was like, no,
I'm very curious about
no,
this
there's
because
nothing magic.
I eat Rice Krispie treats before I work out, but I have a reason, and it's not
Yeah.
pre-workout. So I'm so curious
Okay.
about this because my reason is it's fast, easy, digestible carbs and sugars, right? Like that makes
Bam.
sense to
And
me.
so yes. So when you mix fast, easy, digestible carbs with these pre-workouts that are getting blood and oxygen to your muscles, you're enhancing the pump.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're creating what you want. So you're getting the energy from the food that is going to go into your muscles. So you have working energy in your bloodstream. So when that blood from the pre-workout that's now being pumped faster to your muscles and in greater supply, now you get the pump. So it can be really effective. You want quick digesting carbs. So I always
Right.
tell people pre-workout, you should eat, if you're eating a full meal, at least 2 hours before your
Yeah.
workout. If you're having a snack, an hour to 45 minutes before your workout. But again, quick digesting carbs, maybe a little protein, but you don't want fats and you don't want
Yeah.
fiber in those meals, because now your body has to decide, am I digesting or am I working
Yeah,
out? Like
absolutely.
which one? Like the old school, like your mom would tell you not to swim for 30 minutes after
Yeah.
you eat. Same exact principle. Like there was actually a reason that was a old wives' tale. Like it actually had a purpose,
Yeah.
because your body can't do all these functions at one time effectively. It can't supply as much blood and oxygen to your muscles as you would want if it's also trying to digest fats and fibers, which are slower digesting
Right.
foods. So this is what I love about fitness. This is one of my main motivations for working out, is when you work out, that's the time to have your really high, carb meals and snacks. So if you love Rice Krispie treats or tortillas, like tortillas and butter for me is just like gold, right? Although I can't eat them anymore because I am gluten intolerant.
Oh, how fun.
We love life. Yeah, fun for me. So anyway, but right before and right after your workout, eat those fun carbs that you want and give the carbs a job. Like
Yeah.
then your body can actually use them and it's super beneficial to you.
Yep.
So high carb, low fiber, low fat, add a little protein right before and right after your workout. So have that snack. And then like you mentioned already, that our pre-workout drink, one of the things that I also see, and I occasionally am guilty of too, because I love the taste of my pre-workout so much, I'll make like a big giant glass of it so that I can enjoy the taste more. But really, if you read the instructions and read the label of your package, it's really only about 8 to 10 ounces
Yeah.
of water with your powder, because again, you don't want that water sloshing around. I get to the gym and I'm like, oh my gosh, Will, I'm so full. I can't even work out anymore. Like it's just sloshing in my belly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
that's a quick side note. I know that you and I talked about or shared some posts or something from the glucose goddess recently. And
Yes.
I'm got my glucose monitor on, which is very cool. Somebody at the gym the
Okay.
other day asked our gym owner, they're like, why are you all wearing air tags? Because we're all doing this right now. And I was like, that's hilarious. It does look like an air tag. But the other thing about getting your carbs in pre-post and getting those sweets in is your body's already searching for that insulin glucose drive for your workout, right? You're going to get that spike
Mhm.
regardless. So it's a good time to be like, I really want a chocolate chip cookie. Eat it. right? Like that's the time to do
Yeah.
it because your glucose levels are going to be high, but it's high because your body is needing that energy and fueling yourself in a good, positive way for your muscles and for that restoration of the glycogen and all that kind of stuff that's, we can nerd out about later. But yeah, that's a really great time if you are somebody who monitors your glucose levels or is curious about like, hey, when should I be doing sweets or desserts or super carb heavy stuff? Pre-post workout, like that is your jam.
It's your sweet spot. Yeah.
Exactly, cute. It's your actual sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also helps with muscle sparing. So if you don't have glucose in your system, your body would actually prefer to get energy from your muscle
Hmm.
tissue rather than your fat tissue.
Yeah.
That's its first go to is actually muscle tissue before fat. As much as we would love for it to use fat first, it doesn't.
Yep.
So if you have glucose in the system, you're sparing your muscles, which is the whole point, right? We're trying to increase our muscle mass, not decrease it. So we want to spare the muscles being burned as energy. So put some glucose into your system.
Yes.
Don't go into a workout completely empty.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I was the most appalled about when I was doing a research study with my collegiate athletes at my former university. They would go lift and then they would train, like practice, and then they would come to me for yoga and they would have had nothing in their system since
Oh
lunch. And
my
now we're at like
God.
6 o'clock. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You've been doing more than 3 hours of consistent activity and you've had no energy. So even something simple like a Gatorade can help you if you are. I don't advocate Gatorade a lot,
Yeah.
but sports drinks like that, electrolyte beverages, first of all, they're supposed to have sugar in them. So stop with the, oh, it's got sugar in it. But they're not made to be drank to be sipped on all day
Yeah.
long, which is where we're messing up,
Yep.
right? It's only if you're exercising for more than an hour or need to do an exercise session where you don't have any food. Because again, we don't want a lot of food in our system to digest, but we can get some carbs through that beverage in a liquid form that we can digest and process quickly and still allow us to have a good high performance workout.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up because that is a misconception with Gatorade. Because I'm the same way. Like I do not push sports drinks on people. If they ask me about it, I will not. I don't drink them. But it's not because I think that they're bad. I think that they shouldn't be sold in the Walmart drink aisle. It's not for
Mm-hmm.
it. They're not for us, unfortunately. Like I get it, like Gatorade, and all those other companies, they've got a mass market. They need to make money, but it was created here in Florida, very specifically for one purpose for athletes. It was for these people
Yep.
who are, their heart rates are up, it's hot, it's humid, they're sweating so much, they're working and training for hours. Like these football players, they're out there on the field, they're hot, they're nasty. And yeah, they don't want to eat a protein bar like that. It's going to make your stomach feel gross, but they need something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really good points. Like that stuff isn't made for, I would say 90% of the population. If you're an
Yeah.
endurance athlete, heck yeah, get your Gatorade in, like get your little goopy carb packet with all your stuff. That's for you, you know?
Yep.
Um, yeah. And
I loved it. So, oh, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say like about the carb stuff too. Like there's other ways to get that in, I know we've kind of segued away from pre-workout, but I think it still falls in the category of pre-workout. Like I use a carbohydrate supplement. It's called UCAN, and it's a company that markets specifically more for endurance people. But it's a powdered carbohydrate that I put into my drink
Mhm.
with my aminos. Like I put my BCAAs in there, and I drink that before my workout. And that's part of the reason why like it's been fun to monitor because I'll have this like big spike in my workouts, partially from my workout and partially because I took liquid carbohydrates. And it's those are
Yep.
other ways that like I don't want to eat before I go do this 30-minute, Metcon where I'm just going to die.
Mhm.
The last thing I want to do is put a bunch of food in my belly, but I know my body needs carbohydrates. I need something.
Yes.
So getting that in a beverage form or a supplement form can be super beneficial. Absolutely.
Yeah. My first introduction to pre-workout, like I talked about with the caffeine, but one of my student trainers, when I was supervising personal trainers, he would come in my office and he would be so annoyed with me because I would never be ready to work out when we were supposed to train because I would train in the middle of the day. So he'd bring my snack in and then he'd go mix up my pre-workout and he'd come back 15 minutes later and give me my pre-workout and be like, drink it. And I'd sip it and he'd go, no, chug it. So that's the other thing. Don't just sip on your pre-workout. Like,
Yeah.
again, it should be a small quantity and you need to down it, fairly consistently. You don't have to chug it like we're at a beer pong contest or something, but you should, get it in fairly rapidly. And then again, about 30 minutes, he'd be like, okay, now go change your clothes and I'll meet you downstairs for your warm
That's
up.
a
Right.
good person
And
to have in
so
your
he
circle.
I know. Like, can I have him now, please? And if only we all had one of
Right.
those Matts, right? His name was Matt. Matt,
We need a
please
pocket
come
mat.
and just regulate my schedule again. Yes, we all need a Matt. But that's what it should be like. And I was just impressed with how well he had it down. And this was years and years ago that he had it down. And it still matches what the science says today, right? Like
Yeah.
your pre workout snack, your
Yep.
pre workout drink, and then 30 to 45 minutes later, go get your stuff. And for me, that works out perfectly because we live about 25 minutes from the gym. So by the time I make my drink it, get in the car, drive to the gym, actually make myself 5 4 3 2 1 out of the car and then go start my warm up, like I'm pretty set and I get that flush about the time that we walk in and I'm like, okay,
Oh, that's
yep, now I'm
perfect.
ready. Here we go.
I still haven't
Yeah.
figured out my actual like supplement schedule because I coach 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. Sometimes I have a client right after. Sometimes I have a client 30 minutes later. And so like I bring my supplement with me and I'm like, okay, when do I start drinking this? You know, like is it at the end of 6 a.m. class? And sometimes it is because I'm going to try to work out by 7:30. And sometimes it's like, I don't have a client till 7:30. And so like, do I have to drink it at 8? Do I start drinking at 7:15? And then sometimes I completely forget that I even brought it with me and I'll go over to my bag and get my stuff to work out. I'm like, shit, like now I have to drink this really fast and postpone my workout for 20 minutes because, you know, or just like
Mm-hmm.
have the weirdest high energy, low energy workout ever because I'm drinking during my workout.
During my workout. And you mentioned BCAAs,
Mm-hmm.
and those can sometimes be used as a pre workout as well. And they can also be consumed intra workout.
Yes.
So that is an option for something where where if you run out of time or you're not able to mix up your pre workout before you start, you could consider branched chain amino acids as a supplement. I love mine as well, and mine tastes so good. Same thing. Like I pick things that taste really good, and that's part of my motivation to do my workout is to drink the things that I love.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good way to
so
look about
yeah.
it. Like, you know, for people, if you're lacking motivation, you know, find a supplement that works with in your nutritional, you know, sphere or whatever that looks like for you. And make sure
Yeah.
you enjoy it. Like you shouldn't be drinking pre-workout that you hate. You shouldn't be drinking energy drinks that taste gross. Like there's enough products out there now that you can find something that works for you. And yeah, BCAAs are great because it's all of the things pre, post, during.
Mhm.
They work in all of those areas. And yeah, I have
And
a,
then just drop your creatine in it
yep,
and you won't taste it and knock it out all at one time.
exactly. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay. So
what are some of the like downfalls to pre-workout outside of, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I would say like big picture, like what are some of the bigger like negative takeaways of taking
mhm.
pre-workout, assuming, let's put it in this lens, if I take pre-workout every single day, what are things that I need to be aware of?
Well, first of all, that's not recommended. And they have actually
First
done
of
some
all, don't
research
do
to
that.
show that, yeah, that it's actually less effective on like upper body days. So if you're doing like old school weightlifting splits, like it's actually less effective on upper body days than it is on lower body days.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, and then if you do take it every day, then you should have some breaks in there. And if you're doing your training right, you should have an off week, right, where you're downloading. And so consider cycling it a little bit so that if it has caffeine in it, especially so that you don't build up a tolerance. And then you need to make sure that you're doing your regular annual health checkups, especially
Mm,
as adults. I have to get them for my health insurance for work anyway, but you need to know what your resting heart rate is. You need to know what your blood pressure is so that you can know if these are affecting them, because a lot of these with their stimulants or the ingredients, you may have a reaction to them. So you could see, drastic heart rate increases like you talked about. So if you're already having a spike in your heart rate and you haven't started moving yet, what's going to happen when you add activity on that?
yeah.
And then is it causing an increase in your blood pressure? So if you're on blood pressure medications or blood thinners, you need to understand that too, or understand if there's any, complications that could happen, if there's any, overlap that could happen if you're taking any kind of
Yeah.
medication. Does it interact with the pre-workout supplement? So first of all, know that. And then also, um, you should also understand that these are not regulated. So
Mhm.
the FDA, the way that it regulates food that we eat and drugs that we get from our pharmacy, they don't regulate supplements at all. So the company could say that it has something in it and then not actually have it in there. Or now they can list a lot of things as proprietary blends and not actually have to
Yes.
tell you all the ingredients that are in it. So that's one of the dangers. So you want to make sure that you're buying your supplements from a really trusted source. You want to look for things that have third party testing done on them to verify their efficacy. And then when you buy it, make sure you read the ingredients and read the instructions and follow the directions. Again, watch out for those sugar alcohols, those dyes, or watch out for the things like you talked about, the niacin and the beta alanine. And then start with the smallest dose possible. Don't look at it and go, well, if one scoop is good, then two scoops must be better. That isn't the way that it works when it comes to supplements. Make sure that you probably most likely need to start with a quarter or a half a scoop first and determine your tolerance and your reaction to it first, and then gradually build up. Plus, it also makes it more effective for longer, because if
Yeah.
you start with the highest dose, you don't have anywhere to go. So now you're going to either have to stop using it or find something that's even stronger. So start low
Yeah.
and gradually build up.
Do you remember that pre-workout
Yeah.
Jacked? Did you ever take that?
I remembered it, but I remember it, but I don't think I
They took
took
it
it.
off the market because it had oh my God, what was it? Like DMMA or something like that. Like there was like a drug in it, like came out. And that was fairly common, I feel like, in the early years of pre-workout. But I'll never forget
Uh-huh.
my first experience with Jacked. Like another freaking level of and this was years ago. And so this was way before I was
Mhm.
like, I mean, I worked out, I worked at a gym, I was a personal trainer, but I was nowhere near like the educational mindset that I am now. So I wasn't lifting very well, it's just whatever. And I just remember I'll never forget that feeling of like, what is happening to my body? Like, what is going on? Um,
Yeah.
Also, I'm just kind of down this rabbit hole right now of like different brands of pre-workouts that I know are becoming trendy and big. Bucked or Bucked Up, or
Fucked
I've
up.
seen
Hmm.
their energy drinks. I do like their energy drinks. Is it true? Because I didn't look at I didn't do my research yet on their ingredients. Are they putting antlers in the drinks? Like, is that what is happening with this? Like,
There is actually a ingredient that comes from like the fur of antlers that you can use in supplements.
and is
Mm-hmm.
there science and research
Um,
on this? Like, is that helpful? Like, should we be eating antler fur?
yeah, it's called deer antler velvet,
That's
is
right.
what it's
Yes, yes,
called.
I did see that. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, what? Like, what are we? What is
Yeah.
this?
So it's purported, again, there is some research, but supplement research isn't,
Yeah,
because usually the company that's selling you the product is paying for the research. So they're going to tell you the research is going to tell you what they want you to
exactly.
say.
Yeah.
But it's purported to improve strength, endurance, performance, and repair.
Okay.
So I don't know how much there is
Hmm.
to it. But Bucked Up, one of the cool things that they do, that I'm not trying to promote them, but if you're curious about pre-workout, you can buy one of their shaker bottles for like $19.99, which is a pretty decent shaker
Yeah.
bottle. And with it, you get one supplement of all of their different
Oh,
categories of
cool.
pre-workouts. So you can try non-stem versus stem stimulant
That is
products.
cool.
You can try, like, they have different formulas, like we talked about, for different things. So you can try them all out and see which one is the best fit for you
That's neat.
for $20.
Yeah, that's not bad at
Yeah. So Will and
all.
I did it. Will and I both tried it, and we would take them on the same night and see how we
You
felt.
guys are like doing drugs together. Like, we took it in the same time, like, but we locked all the doors and turned off all our cell phones.
Yeah. Yes,
I didn't
exactly.
know that LA Fitness, at least the one that we go to, they in their whatever it's called, like their little cafe thing, you can buy a
Uh-huh.
scoop of pre-workout, and they have like 6 different types of brands up there, and one of them is the Bucked Up one. Um, but yeah, you can just buy. So that's another way too. Like if you haven't done
Yeah.
pre-workout and you're curious about it, like check with your gym, like if they have free samples or if they sell it, and they'll make you a little mixed drink. Um,
Or buy the Bucked Up in the can. Yeah.
yeah. What about C4? Did you ever do C4? I know that that's like the biggest
Yeah,
one.
that's the most common one because you can buy it at Walmart
Yeah.
and it's not very expensive. So it's the one you're going to see the most of. One of my colleagues actually was trying to do research on women specifically with pre workout, because if you look at the research on pre workout, there's very little done on women, and
Shocking.
especially yeah,
I'm
right.
so
But
surprised.
women are harder to study, obviously, because they wanted to specifically look at it during the different menstrual cycles, during the
Oh,
different phases of your
fascinating.
menstrual cycle. And then unfortunately they needed women to be synced up, and we tried to get a team, that maybe they would be synced up so that to make the research a little easier, and they just couldn't get enough participants
Yeah.
to make the research study worked. But they were going to use C4 for their study
That is
because it was readily available.
that is interesting. Because I feel like a little bit of my research on this, very minimal things touched on that. But one of the things that I came across, and I'll have to find the article and link it, was that pre-workout can have potentially negative side effects because of women's giant fluctuations in their hormones, right? So depending on the time of year or time of month and like different phases of your cycle, depending on where you are, those things could potentially be bad. So yeah, I'd be so curious to, I feel like this is something we need to reach out to like Dr. Stacy Sims and be like, hey, do this research. Tell us how this
Yeah.
goes for women. Yeah.
She's probably going to tell us stop using pre-workout.
Right. But that's something cool too. Like you guys, as you guys are doing this journey, so much of this podcast is us sharing because we want you to feel empowered to learn about yourselves and like, don't just take what we're saying and be like, oh, well, they said it on the podcast, so I'm going to go do it now. Like try it out. If you're keeping a fitness log or a nutrition log, like try the pre-workout, try the energy drink, and then write down how you feel, and then if you do have a cycle, like write down how it felt on your cycle in those different phases. Like, all right, I'm in my luteal phase and I had pre-workout and I felt however I felt. Because no amount of online research and no amount of educators and scientists and doctors are going to give you what you need that you can't give the best information to yourself. And what I mean by that is like my experience with caffeine and how it affects my body and how it affects my energy levels is uniquely mine. And I'm the only one that can advocate for myself in that and make the best choices for myself behind whether or not these products work for me. So please, again, not to get on my high horse about fitness influencers, like there's some amazing ones out there, but like just because they're doing it, it doesn't mean one, that that's all they're doing. They might be doing a lot of other stuff they're not telling you about. And two, it might be what just works for them. So try it and then keep notes for yourself and decide and empower yourself to make decisions that are best for you. And there are people out there who don't use any pre-workouts and have no caffeine at all. And they're amazing athletes and they're in great shape and they do really well fitness wise. So, it's not something you have to have or have to do. It's just, an added thing that if you want to try it, go for it.
It's one of the things that's amazing and frustrating about the health and fitness and nutrition space is that we are all very unique, which is so cool and so amazing that there's only one of you in the entire world. But can also be frustrating when it comes to advice because there isn't a uniform standard of fitness or nutrition or health advice for everyone. And it does take a lot of trial and error. And that can be the really frustrating part about this journey. I like to use the example of cycling. Like if somebody told you that cycling was the ultimate, greatest, amazing, most effective workout, and it was the way to burn fat and get the booty of your dreams, everybody would be doing it, right? But if you hate the way a bicycle seat feels and you don't like saddle sore, then you're not going to do the workout. So it doesn't matter how effective it is because you didn't do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got to find what works uniquely for you. And one other thing that you touched on that I want to highlight is you mentioned logging things. I'm not a big advocate of tracking every single thing that I eat all of the time, because for me, that has personally led to some spirals of eating disorder issues.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is important to periodically check in with yourself and assess yourself. So tracking for a couple of days, about 3 days, every so often, maybe every quarter, every 3 to 4 months, is really helpful. But I think people forget to include their drinks when they log their nutrition. And like you mentioned, that vitamin, that you were taking with the supplement where you were getting too much vitamin, you would notice that thing if you looked at a food tracking, software and actually looked at the assessment that it gives you of your macronutrients and your micronutrients. You could see those ranges that you're getting that you might not be aware of if you didn't put it all together, because just at one at a time, you might not notice anything, but when you put it all together. So occasionally, periodically tracking can be really helpful and useful, but don't forget to include the drinks that you're consuming as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Dang, I feel like I need a breath for a second. You and I both have a lot to say about this topic, and I love it. This is one that I really am so excited to do this episode on, because it's one of those topics that I've really wanted to cover in depth like this for a long time.
Yeah, and it's what's cool is like we can go on and on about. I feel like there's so many offshoots of this that do lots of episodes on pre-workout.
Yeah,
and all the different ways and what's considered pre-workout. But yeah, no, I think that's good. And I would love to know, from everybody, like, do you use pre-workout? And, if you use pre-workout, let us know, send us a message, text us on our social media stuff. And I just sounded like such an old person right there. Text us on our social
Text us.
media. Wow. Anyways, but yeah, let us know what pre-workouts you guys use, or if any stories that you have about pre-workout, if there's something that you did,
Ooh,
some fun or weird or wild, crazy experience. Definitely let us know. I would love to know people's pre-workout stories.
yeah.
Yeah, if you have a go-to favorite or an energy drink that you love, let us know. We'll put together some info about different pre-workouts.
And I like to consider myself Mikey. So I'm the girl that will try all the things and see if it works or not and come back and give you a report, tell you about it. Like Will and I tried all the bucked up supplements, or, like I love to be the guinea pig. So let me know what
Oh,
you're
that'd be
taking and I want
fun.
to.
We should do that. We should do a little like when y'all send us your stuff, we're gonna try it all. Like we'll
Yeah.
we'll try out all the energy drinks and we'll have a little, what are those called? Those YouTube, there's YouTube like channels where people
Try
unboxings,
things.
like they like
Yeah.
unbox their stuff, We'll do that, but we'll do it. We're gonna unbox and try pre-workouts and energy drinks. I'm game for
And then we're
that.
going to need like a detox
Yeah.
week for sure.
Exactly. Then we'll never sleep again.
Yes. So we do want to remind you though, like, get your ass in the gym. You need to be doing your workouts, get your nutrition in check, and then visit the idea of a supplement in any category. But specifically today, we're talking about pre-workout supplements. But make sure you have all your stuff in check and just keep checking off those boxes. Workout, check. Nutrition, check. Sleep, check. Then add in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So where should we go from here, Heather? What should we talk about next?
What should we talk about next? I'm so like we're on this great flow of sciencey nutrition stuff. I'm kind of motivated to like talk about logging food next because you just brought it up. Like, what a great topic! Like, should we
I
be
know.
logging food? Should we not be logging food? When should we log food? Why should we log food? Um, yeah, I don't
But
know.
we haven't really touched a whole lot on fitness yet. Like I just told everybody to get their ass in the gym, but we haven't told them what to do in the gym yet. Or talked about what we should be doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it.
I think we could do like a 2-3 part segment on that for sure. Like break that up into part 1, part 2, part 85.
Yeah, as I said, that could be the whole podcast for sure. Yeah.
Or another thing, we could kind of segue a little bit into, because you touched on it in this episode, eating disorders and the mental, emotional worthiness aspect, and how all of those things kind of correlate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. That just automatically conjures up my my issues. But yeah. Okay. So we've got some topics to talk about.
So many things. Stay tuned. What's
Stay
next?
tuned because you're going to want to hear all of this, I promise.
All right.
I promise.
One thing real quick before we end this, but we didn't start off our, we got a quick catch up on like life stuff, but what is a healthy habit that you are doing this week, or a book you're reading, or something that you've got going on for yourself this week for your personal growth and self?
Two things. I started a new Bible study with my women's group at church, and it's called Relaxed. And it's talking about how we need to be leaning on our spirituality instead of on ourselves. And if you think about leaning on ourselves, like obviously we couldn't actually do that, right? We would fall over. So it was just a reminder that we don't need to be stressing and worrying about all this stuff if we actually turn it over to our higher power and lean on Him, right? So it's talking about just taking down some of our stress, and that God has kind of already factored in us being an idiot. And so we don't need to worry about it because He already knows, right? And it's kind of the most relieving thing. He knows how dumb you are. So just keep living. So that's been really helpful. And then I added a standing treadmill, like a walking pad, under my desk because I realized I was only getting about 4,000 steps a day. And I was like, okay, Shanna, as a fitness person, that is below sedentary level. Let's be a little more active.
How do you like it?
Yeah. It's fun. My challenge
Wait,
is
are
that
you on it right now?
Yeah, I'm standing on it.
Stop.
It's not on,
Oh,
but I'm
okay. I was
standing
like,
on
you
it. Yeah.
walk very like very calmly. I didn't even know you were walking, but you're not walking. Okay.
No, no, it's kind of it's a little bit loud, but this is such a such a stupid issue. But I wear dresses to work most days of the week, and I got mermaid thighs,
What?
and so do you know what I'm talking
What?
about?
No, what the heck
Like
are
my thighs rub
mermaid
together
thighs?
and they chafe and they sweat, and I don't like them rubbing together when I walk.
Or you need little
So I really need to put
spandex.
some. Yeah, so I got to
Yeah.
start wearing spandex under my dress to make this a little more comfortable and enjoyable. But
Yes.
yes, I don't really want to change
You have
clothes, but I
mermaid
wore them
thighs.
one day. Yeah, I wore them one day and I was like, oh, that's a game changer. Like I walked so much more that
You have to
day.
start getting those. What's that brand? Like Harla or something? They make those cute little dresses that have built-in shorts. You're just gonna wear skirts now
Oh,
all the time.
ooh, I need to look
I'll
that up.
send it to you.
Yes.
Yeah, they're adorable. I like that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a little bit torn though about that. That's not sexy when I come home and when I'm getting dressed in the morning or come home and get undressed, right? Like I'm a newlywed, right? We have to think about these things.
That's hilarious.
All right, what about you? What are you doing?
What am I doing? I think a big thing for me is I'm trying to focus on drinking less alcohol. So I do the Whoop Strap, and they have a Sober October
Hmm,
challenge. And
okay.
I'm realistic. Like, I have no interest in not drinking at all. Like, that's not for me. I enjoy a glass of wine. I love our date nights, like I talked about earlier. So I know that that's not a realistic expectation for me to be like, I'm not going to have any alcohol for an entire month. Although, side note, I did do the 75 hard challenge a couple years ago, and I freaking loved that. Like, game changer in so many ways. But I'm no longer in that place in my life. So I'm going to have one. Okay. But it's cool to have that challenge going on because it helps me throughout the week. I tend to be a Wine Wednesday person, as you are very well aware of. And
Which
I,
is how we became friends.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I like that. I enjoy, I work long days like we all do. Like I'm up at 3:30 in the morning and I'm in bed by 7, but I'm usually working until 5:30 at night. Like that's a long day and I have an active job and I enjoy my glass of wine. But anyways,
Hmm.
I've decided that like, all right, for this month, like I'm not going to be sober, but I'm definitely going to, Sunday through Thursday I'm not drinking alcohol at all. Like there no nightly wines, like just clean it up. And so that's been really empowering because which is part of the reason why I love the 75 hard challenge. It was this ownership of something for me, like this thing that I'm taking
Hmm.
control of and just kind of a reminder of like, oh yeah, like I am choosing every single day what I'm putting in my body. And to be able to wake up and be like, oh, I don't have a wine headache. That's nice. Or like my Whoop Strap recovery is like all green. Like that feels really good. And it's just those little empowering things. So that's one of the things I'm doing. And I'm also really pushing myself to, I work through this program that called To Be Magnetic, and it's a manifestation company and working on a lot of that and they are in the part where you kind of have to do some healing, some self internal healing, and some deeper inner child healing, and that's hard. That's a challenging
Hmm.
thing. So my goal has been to get through at least one piece of that a week. Um, and that's been really helpful for me to again just something else that I can take ownership of and I find myself once I start doing it I'm motivated, right? Like I always believe like motivation follows action. Like you got to start the thing and then you're motivated to go, and so that's been really helpful for that. So those are my two things that I'm working on and doing.
I love our relationship that we are so drastically different on opposite ends of the spectrum of a few things, and that there's still so many things that we're so much aligned
Yeah.
about. And one of the things that I have noticed through our conversations today is that I don't think that either one of us are extremes on health, fitness, nutrition, anything.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that about the alcohol because right now, again, kind of social media trends, you're starting to see this sober movement that's
Yeah.
happening. And I'm kind of like you. Like, I just think that there's a balance in there. And same thing with the cookies, right? Like, there's a
Yeah.
balance in there. And I don't think that we have to be all or none of anything, right? We
Yeah.
can find a healthy mixture of, I always talk about like that combination of happy and healthy, and where they overlap is where we should live.
Yes.
And so I love that you said that. And I think we could actually do a whole episode about the alcohol thing because,
Yeah.
same thing. I've done the alcohol free life and I just didn't really. see that much difference for me.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and the social element for me is somewhat important. And again, I just like the taste of it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like I just crave that
I
flavor.
like wine. Like I
So
genuinely like the taste of wine. I want to drink it, you know? And I like chocolate and
yeah,
I'm not going to not have sweets. I have a sweet tooth. I'm going to freaking eat them.
yeah.
Yeah.
My beetroot powder mixed with my branched chain amino acids has kind of become my new wine in the
Ooh, I like
evenings
that.
because, and it's also that deep red color. So it looks like a red wine. Um, and it just kind of has that, like, I like sweet wines. You know this. You like dry wines. So this probably wouldn't work for you. Again, our opposites. I'm the only one in our friend group that likes sweet wine. Like, oh, accidentally somebody brought sweet wine. Here you go, Shanna.
It's all for you.
But yeah, so that's been kind of satisfying my sweet wine thing.
Yeah, I like that. I think we should dive into that a little bit more. Like there's so many ways to find balance with drinking, and the sober movement has become very big, and there's benefits to that for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
I would love to dive into that more and talk about what's happening with and the next generation too. Like we're seeing a lot more of the younger generation like just being completely disinterested in alcohol altogether.
Mhm. Which is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a very, there was a TikTok video of some dancers like that I follow, and it was like, you know, dancers born after 2000, and like this dancer is like stretching and doing all this stuff, and it's like, and we had our mushrooms and we did this and like all self-help and cleansing and whatever. And it's like dancers born before, and she's like, and then we had some Xanax and we did this, and I was like, oh my god, yes, like two very different industry worlds. Like the industry I grew up in,
Yep.
that is not the industry that is there today, and for a good reason. But
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
we could go into that. I like that. All right,
For sure. Awesome. We nailed it.
yay.
I
Okay.
know.
I know.
I know. Now I'm like, okay, now I want an energy drink to go drive home since we just spent an hour and a half talking about it.
And we fed your addiction just now for sure.
Yeah, I just need the motivation to make the drive home, right? All right, girl. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Well, we will see you all next time on Soulful Science Podcast, and have an amazing rest of your day, whether you're drinking energy drinks or not. Shanna, no energy drinks. Go home. You got this. I believe in you.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
I needed the coaching. Bye.